Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'll be going over my second match from the 2023 Midwest Classic. If you didn't see my previous video, I reviewed my first match and I did end up winning that. So I'm currently have 1 point for my team in this, I guess, round robin team tournament. And yeah, we're going to go over my second match against a 6-dan. Now, normally if we're talking about handicaps, I'm 5-dan, opponent 6-dan, I would be black and my opponent would have half point Comey, but because it's handicap -2 for a deciding handicap, it just equates to playing an even game. So that's how I ended up with the white stones here. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump into the game. This game gets pretty complicated. A huge fight breaks out, and then even after that big fight, another fight breaks out. So I'll try to keep the review to big picture things, because if I get bogged down in all the details, this video will get pretty lengthy and pretty drawn out. So I'll try to stick to kind of big picture things as we're going. But yeah, obviously we're not there yet, so let's get to the opening. And in the opening, the two keys are you stick to standard moves you'll see if you just pop into a pro game. They're playing Joseki's, extensions, all those kind of moves. Things you've seen, I'll call those standard moves. And then the next big thing is moves you're comfortable with. Because games aren't really won or lost, for that matter, in the opening. They're more so won or lost in the middle game, and then even sometimes in the end game. So the really important thing in the opening is to be comfortable going into the middle game, setting yourself up for victory, that is. So even if a move might be substandard to an AI or to a stronger player, as long as you're comfortable with it and it's not a terrible move, I'll say, it's okay to play it. So like here, there's a lot of different options. Are you comfortable with fighting? Then, you can play this kind of fighting variation. Are you comfortable with your invasions? Okay, then maybe play on the right side. Maybe you like building. Maybe you could play on the left side, right? There's a lot of different options here. Maybe you like these new AI Josekis. Maybe you can attach here or attach here, right? So there's a lot of different options. And so, a lot of my students, whenever you get to this opening, it's like, well, how do I pick where to go? It depends on what you're comfortable with. So play moves you're comfortable with. So this move I'm comfortable with. I don't really want to jump in because I'm pretty confident in my ability to, even if my opponent gets a Moyo, I'll be able to reduce it and maybe even invade if I have to. So I'm just focused on, okay, let me build the bottom while reducing black's potential of the lower right. Black jumps. And again, I'm very comfortable just taking D18 and taking the corner. Black plays here, and I like this. Black asks a question. Black just says, how are you going to answer white? And depending on how you answer, maybe I want to wedge or stand up. So black shoulder hits. Again, this makes sense with black's plan of building the top, but I push and cut. So then play down. For example, if let's say black had jumped, right? And maybe I poke and we get something like this, right? And then, not that this is great, but let's say black, or I just extend here. Now, maybe black would just stand up and extend, right? Now that black has seen how the board develops, black's going to play differently. But we'll see that the board in the game develops differently from that. So black's going to choose a different variation in the lower left, depending on how the board develops. And that's kind of the point of probes. Like, black isn't treating this as an approach or an invasion or anything. Black's just seeing how white's going to answer, and based on how white answers, black's going to pick accordingly. So yeah, this is a pretty nice timing as well. Yep. And then cut, black descends, and so I pincer. So now black knows, okay, I probably never want to do this, right? Because the furthest I can extend is here, and then I'm getting split on a lot of sides. So now black wedges instead. And the variation I choose in the game is very seldom seen. I think it could have worked, but I end up misplaying here. But basically, if you look at this board, my goal here is to never let these 3 stones connect to b5 or whatever stones black gets in the lower side. Because the reason why black doesn't continue, I'll say locally, is black doesn't really want to Atari like this because it weakens the top. There's a saying that you shouldn't Atari cutting stones unless you can capture. Because if we look at like in this position, all black has done is created a cutting point in their own shape at E12, but has also helped me surround the upper side. And that's the same reason why black doesn't want Atari here, because it hurts the left side. So that's why black just descends. And so when I pincer, same thing. Black doesn't want Atari here because it hurts the upper side, and same thing this way. So black's trying to find a different way to settle these stones. Even if black plays maybe a lighter move like this, white's still going to extend somehow. And if black extends, then white's really going to put the pressure on black. So that's why black's trying to find a different way to play. And again, in what move is this? In 20 moves, white's cut is move 20. We have a fight. And like I'm looking at this and like black is split. White has both corners. Like this looks good for white, right? But if black is comfortable with this kind of game, you know, you can't say it's necessarily bad. And even according to an AI, it's still basically even. So as long as you're comfortable with this kind of game, you know, it's okay to play it. Wedge, Atari this way. Like even going this way, I think is fine for me because black still doesn't get a good extension. And even if black goes here, I can just connect. And again, like black is still weak on both sides. Black is still weak on both sides. But it's this feeling of having to connect back, especially if you consider this is what you would normally expect. If you can consider that black could wedge and force me to connect at B3, like we can see that like how much smaller white's corner is if you compare these two, right? So, and I have a weakness at D3 as well. So realistically, white should always go here. Just to not let black get a better outside and keep white's shape weak. So Atari, and then descend, and then cut. And so this is just Joseki. So I'm not going to go into all the details, but basically, after this turn, usually white will extend. Black will now play here. And this forces white to have to play in the corner. If white does something else, black can capture. So white has to play in the corner. But then black gets these kind of Ataris like this, or even sometimes just jump. And the basic idea is black's going to give up the corner, but in the process get stones on the outside. But we can see here, even in this case, what if I just jump next? Even black gets this Atari. I'm keeping the big corner, and I'm still attacking the 3 stones, and black now has a heavy group here. So even if black plays some move like this, like black's still not alive, and now I'm capturing these 3. So yeah, it's tough to say, but this feels pretty good for white, doesn't it? And, you know, probably black will give this up now, something like this. But still, like this feels good for white, doesn't it? Even if black can build a big top, like that's a lot of cash for white. So I try to get, I don't want to say fancy, but I just kind of looked at this and was like, oh, I'm getting cut off here at C9. You know, I got to do something. But realistically, there's not much black can do to like prevent me from jumping out. Like if black jumps next, then I'll just be able to push and cut here, and black's giving up too much. The only other move I can see for black potentially is this move, attaching directly. But even if white just, let's see, if white just, I don't know, play here, maybe, or Hane. Like, even if black gets some sort of squeeze here, like it's still... Black has a cut here as the key. So I'm still separating D13. But basically, again, not to get bogged down in all the details, this is totally fine for white. My stone, I was looking at this and was thinking, oh, my stones are perfectly placed here to separate. So in the game, I descend at B2 and let black capture. And I'm like, oh, look at my shape here. But my stone is also perfectly placed to, if we have this variation, to make problems in black shape. So, yeah. I think it's totally fine for me to just extend here. Now, the other way I was maybe thinking of playing is what if I go here? Let black capture and maybe like stand up here. This might be giving black too much in the corner, but really look at white's left side here. Look at white's left side here. Even if black maybe at this point Atari's, at some point black has to go back, right? And live here. And so then I'll be able to get the first move up top anyways. So it's not like, even if black gets these pushes in the center, it's not as if like black is going to get all the top. So I don't know, this feels like it has some potential as well, but again, if we just look at like this kind of variation here, like I can still attack the 3 stones. So I descend, even here, like I can play this kind of move and keep attacking black on a large scale. Again, the key is not to let these 3 stones connect to the lower left. That's the key. Black would, you'll see that black ends up playing this move in the game. So just for comparison, in the game, actually, I'll show the game first. When I play here and black plays this, I'm able to cut. And the reason I can cut is I can Hane here and connect under or capture the 2 stones. Like, black can throw in like this, but black has to go here to separate, and we can see that black just runs out of space here to do anything. Black runs out of liberties. But it's a little different because I don't have that move in the game or in the variation here, right? In the variation, I have this move like this. So if we do the same exact thing, though, the idea now is black's still going to go here, but I'm going to Atari and descend. And the point of this is, oh, sorry, not descend, although maybe I could descend, but the key is I'll go here next. And again, look at the left side. Black is forced to play at F2, and then I can extend here. That's the key. That's the key. Or again, even if black Atari's first, even in some cases, the lower left is now so big that I can just take the lower left. But even if I do just do this, and then black comes back, again, I can play the first move up top. And now I have the entire left side. So this kind of thing is possible. This kind of thing is possible. But it's the important thing is I get D7. That's the important thing here to keep in mind. My idea was, okay, let me get rid of this eye and force black to have to run in this direction and keep black separated. That is not quite what happens. So push and cut, and now black plays a goblin's nose. And this is what this move is preventing, by the way, is that Tesuji at C7 for black. So black goes here, and this is very good timing. I descend. Now black stands up, and this is laddering, so I have to extend. Black descends again. Again, even here, I was like, oh, if black stands up, I can like play this jump. But after black descends, I probably don't really want to jump because this Atari feels way too painful. Maybe black will peep, and then black can run out these stones, right? And now my left side stones are getting a little isolated. Yeah, getting a little isolated. But even looking at it now, maybe it is still possible. Maybe it is still possible. It's probably better than what happens in the game. As long as I keep in mind that I'm trying to keep black separated, this is still better than the game. Because in the game, when I Hane, black still gets this Atari. And here I was like, okay, well, even if black connects here, I'll be able to turn and capture this lower left, which is quite huge. It's quite huge, right? So that's all I was reading. And just to reiterate the from my last video what the time settings were. It was 30-minute main time, Fisher, with 10 seconds per move, meaning you get 30 minutes to start, and every move you play, you get 10 seconds. So it's not the fastest setting, but it's also not terribly slow. So, what that means for me is I was playing too fast, and so I didn't look at anything else that black could do here. And obviously, this variation would be good for me. So that means black will probably find something that isn't as good for me, right? So it's a little too one-dimensional thinking, and in fact, black does find that move, which is netting. And the point of the net is, okay, I'm going to give up these 2, even 3 stones, but you see I only have 2 liberties, so I have to cut. But black can Atari, and extend. And so now my one goal, which was to not let black connect the lower left to the left side here, the D13 stones, has happened, right? Again, look at how far away these stones are, right? That was my one goal. That's all I wanted in this game, was to keep black separated and to cut. And to keep black cut, I mean. But all that happens is black ends up connecting. And the left side, I haven't gained too much from this attack. Maybe I've gained a little on the bottom, but again, if I could have taken a variation like this, then I'm getting more points anyways in the lower left. So yeah, not the greatest result for white, especially when my one goal I did not even achieve here. And so now this cut here that I have now is surrounded by black has some thickness on the left, and so now I'm potentially weaker here. So I extend, black jumps, I hane, black covers. I can't really cut this because I am too weak on this side. So because of this squeeze here, I have too many problems, so I can't even separate here. So that's why black's able to just cover here. So then I jump here. This is to threaten the cut. Black turns, and then I cut. But the problem with this cut is black turns once, and this is very good sacrificing technique. A lot of players would just block, and you get this Atari, but you still have a weakness here at B10, don't you? And so later, black would have to worry about things like peep into this, right? So to fix that problem, black gives up an extra stone by turning here. This forces me to go here. There's no other move. Trust me, I looked. But now black can clamp and force me to capture, and now black has a solid connection here, comparing that to here, right? Black's shape is much better. So even though black gives up an extra stone, black's group here is a lot safer, and that means black's group here most likely is alive. So what's going to happen? Now black is alive on the left, has the shoulder hit at H14, and now is leaning on me in the center. So again, how did this happen for me having a position where black split here? These 3 stones are so weak to having this shape, where now I'm the one under attack in the center, right? How did this happen? So basically here, I have to realize that this cut is not that valuable, because if black ends up living on both sides, then this cut isn't really doing much for me. So instead, I should play a move like this. Basically saying black, if you want to connect, then feel free, right? Something, maybe Atari, and then go here. I'm out. That's what's important. Or even maybe just jump like this. Basically, this cut becomes useless once both of black's sides are basically alive, which they are. Black leans, Atari, double hane, gotta extend, black connects, turn, jump. Again, this is all standard fighting here. So I hane might seem strange, but I'm trying to create some weaknesses in black's shape, Atari and connect. And then black turns back to the lower side. So again, this kind of move would have been ridiculous earlier, but now that black has some thickness here, like if black did it here, obviously, this is not doing much. But now that black has thickness, it makes sense to activate something here. Because the thing is, like, let's say black did it here, right? The thing is, I can connect here anytime. So now black has to do something with these 2 stones. But now that black has thickness here, black's saying, okay, if you do something here, then I'm strong enough that I can maybe play this move, or in the game, black even plays this move. This was black's plan all along. So I jump. So my thinking here is I don't want to get squeezed. So if something like this happens, and let's say I cut, black's an Atari, and then descend. And obviously, black cutting off the stone at L4 is way too much. Yeah, and if I can't Hane because after the cut, these 2 stones are too weak. So instead, I jump saying, okay, black, even if you connect, you have to worry about your group in the center. And this is where my cutting stone here is helping me, or this Hane at first, but then it becomes a cutting stone, is helping me, is black has cuts here. And again, black only has 1 eye in this group here. So black knows that and stands up. And this is very important. This looks like a perfect example of when you want to make a bamboo joint, right? But it's not necessary here. It's actually worse because it's worse for liberties. So it's better to actually just connect here. And now look at all the liberties I have. Whereas if I do this, black just covers. If we imagine this push, right? I only have 3 liberties. And so you'll see in the game, I try to capture this. But in this variation, I wouldn't be able to capture. But by simply blocking, stand up, black connects. Now I'm able to capture. I have 4 liberties now, and black has only 3. Black cuts once. That's nice timing and connects. But black is happy because all black was trying to do was get some thickness. And black has fixed this cut. And remember the cuts here black had? Black has fixed them all in Sente. Sure, maybe black lost some Aji on the lower side, but black wasn't thinking of really invading here to begin with, right? So now black turns back the attention to center. And again, this whole game, I'm just like, I'm still actually thinking about what happened on the with my cut at F13. I'm just like, how did this happen? How does black have all this thickness now? How am I still under attack? Yeah, simple attach, extend, play there, extend again. So I basically have an eye here for the most part. I'm starting to get an eye. I'm starting to get an eye here. That's why black plays here. Black doesn't want me to, like if black answers, black doesn't want me to get this move into some move like, well, I don't even need to answer. I've already started making, yeah, I don't need to answer. And black is actually starting to get surrounded and potentially die here. Yeah, so maybe I should do that. I was so focused on actually just living here that it didn't even cross my mind that I actually cut black. Remember when I did F9? Maybe I could use that, but I just completely like forgot about it. So black Hanes extends and I jump. Black pushes, Ataris, and connects. And again, this is related back to black wanting to live here. But I was very happy being able to descend here. This is getting into black's right side and black's upper side, or upper right corner. Black plays here, Hane, extend. So now I'm starting to get an eye here, and I descend. And then we get this clamp, and we basically get a ko here. But the thing with this ko is, because of how black was playing throughout this game, I'm very solid here, I'm very solid here. There's a few threats here. Whereas if black's trying to attack me, black has to answer a lot of threats. So for example, this cut here. Black obviously can't ignore this because after the descent and capture, now black's upper left is getting surrounded. So black has to answer this. But if you answer once, you can see white just has a ton of threats there. So black Atari, that's threat, and then descend, play here, and then Hane. Again, black's trying to find the spots that are my groups that have weaknesses. So black's saying, with this threat, okay, I can capture these stones, or here I can capture the upper left. Throw in. So this throw in, not the best move, but I was so focused on living that I was okay with giving up some Aji up top. So for example, if I just turn and do this, there's enough Aji up there to basically live, believe it or not. Black has too many weaknesses here to keep me from not living. So for example, if Black double Hanes, Atari, and extend, I can connect on the first line. But if Black prevents that, I can Atari here and wedge. So if Black prevents that, then I can connect with some move like this. If Black just extends, though, I can play here. And again, very similarly, if we get this kind of move, I can bump here, and Black can't Hane because Atari and then Atari here. So Black has to play some move like this. But again, after here into this, I'm threatening to connect under. But if Black answers, then I can live. So yeah, any sort of variation here is going to be okay for White. Black can kick here, but after this, Black now has to actually worry about themselves living. So it's still tricky here for Black. So yeah, there's potential up here for sure. But after I throw in, like I do in the game, it's very similar. Like I can still Atari this, but like if we take this example or this variation, now I can't connect on the first line because after this throw in, I can't Atari at L19 anymore. I have to go this way, which means Black can Atari here and surround. If you look at that variation without the throw in, like this, because Black doesn't have a stone at N18, after this, I can Atari here. And so there's no Atari here anymore. So that one little throw-in makes a big difference for Black's Aji, or White's Aji, against Black's group on the top. But if I do this one, I only get one local threat. Whereas if I throw in, my idea was I at least get two threats here. Because whether Black goes here, which Black does, I can Atari. Or if Black descends, I can descend as well. So that was my thinking. I was just thinking about co-threats. But the thing is, all of these moves here are co-threats anyways, right? Like, Black plays a co-threat, answer. Like, this is a co-threat in itself, right? So I don't need to be so, I guess, co-threat, like, I don't need to save co-threats, I guess. Or I don't need to make extra co-threats if they lose Aji. Because I have enough co-threats. So Black does connect. Right there. Atari, yep. Right there. Black cuts. So again, these are losing a little bit of points, but not too much. So turn. So Black can double Hane. Cut again. This is losing some points. But again, Black's thinking the ko is so big, it's okay. So I cut here, and then Black actually gives it up. So Black sacrifices the left side in return for winning the ko. And so this is an interesting point in the game because basically this sacrifice, locally White has gained. Locally White has gained. But now all of a sudden, we are in endgame, right? And what that means is this has made the game easier for Black, even though White has caught up. White is still down by 10-ish points or so, maybe a little bit less than 10, somewhere around 10 though. And so we get to an interesting part of the game here, where a normal move would be to just go here, right? But this isn't enough for White to win. This isn't enough for White to win, because again, Black's right side is quite big. Even though White captured this group here, Black's right side is quite big. So in the game, I play here. But the thing about this is, if Black just backs off and maybe I get this kind of move, and there's a crosscut, but just to simplify, we do this, into something, right? Something like this. Now Black has lost too much. So we get into a position where even though this huge fight that's went from the left side of the board to the right side of the board with the ko and sacrifices and all that has ended, we get into a position where this isn't enough for White to win, but this is enough for Black to win. So Black has to separate, and now all of a sudden we have, Black needs to connect, by the way, because there's a push and cut. We have now Black needs to kill White. And so remember that whole thing about, the things you play in the opening don't decide games? Well, this is especially true here, because whatever you played in the opening, it may have changed the middle game a little bit, but it wasn't affecting the end result of this game. Whereas whatever happens here is what's going to decide the game. And so there's a lot of problems for black, actually. Because if black hanes, this cut already starts to give white a lot of aji to be able to live. So black has to descend, but now I'm separating black from this side. So black hanes, connect, black descends, and then black hanes. And so here, black really needs to play this move. This is really the key spot, because if I just connect, black's going to pull back. And now, even though I've surrounded the corner, it's an eye versus no eye scenario. But once black went here and gave me the spot, now black has some problems, because I'm starting to make an eye at q6, but black needs to live in the corner. And beyond that, this move is sente to connect on the first line, because if black maybe surrounds or starts to live in the corner, I can turn here. Black can't cover because I can cut, but if black jumps, I can connect simply by playing L1. So, and this is also where the time setting starts to backfire for black, where black is actually pretty low on time at this point. I, on the other hand, have a lot of time left, so I can actually really think about all my moves, whereas black has to play somewhat quickly to not lose on time. So this is where time really became a factor as well. So black turns here, because black didn't want to see O1. I Atari, though, and then play here. So I'm making an eye, and black would like to play here to connect and to threaten the snapback here, but white can surround those two stones by playing here. This is a very nice move to know. If you just hane, black's going to be able to connect. Yeah, black's just able to connect. But by playing here, if black attaches, you can throw in and capture like this. So yeah, and if black plays here, same thing, you can throw in. So that's why black has to play here, but I'm able to now play in the corner, because now I have an eye. So now any semi-eye, even if black surrounds me, now that I have an eye, is going to favor me now. Because again, even a seki is good for white here. So black descends, so Itari. Again, black needs to connect, because taking, even if black doesn't play the ko, again, it comes back to this corner. Now black has to worry about the corner. Whereas by having this connection here, even still, black's okay, because there's a throw in here, right? If I try to kill, black can throw in and capture. So I attach, black extends, I fill in, forcing black to play in the corner. And here now white has an eye at q6, and again, there's a lot of variations here, but not drag on the video. Basically, it's tricky now for black to kill, and black tries. This wouldn't be the move I would start with. This looks like the key spot, doesn't it? Because not only does it, like, if white gets p7, white's making an eye at p6, but this move is also starting to potentially poke out the eye here. But black clamps. I get that move. I was very happy with this, getting this spot here. And again, black needs to Atari. Black can't even extend here because I'm already alive. So black needs to Atari. So I Atari. Again, if black connects, then I can play here and I'm alive. So black has to go here. And so you can see there's a lot of contingencies here that black needs to have happen to be able to live here. So for example, when I go here, if black just blocks, the idea is, even if I cut, black's still gonna get rid of my eyes, right? But after this, I'll be able to take here, and now black can't falsify this eye at p6. So again, all of this is black trying their best to make sure I don't get two eyes, but after this push, this is sente. Black can't block because I've obviously cut. I can push again. Again, black needs to answer. When I take, again, black is forced to play here, but I can go here. Black's forced to go here, and then I can Atari, and this is netted. These two stones are netted, and so at this point, black resigned. yeah, black resigned here. So a crazy game where it was even in the opening, but then basically once black was able to connect back to those 3 stones on the left, black was in control for almost the entire game until white was able to squeak out a life here in black's lower right. But yeah, I did end up winning this game. Not my greatest game ever. It's not a game I was, super happy with, but, especially in a team tournament, I'm not just fighting for myself. Every win is for the team, so I was happy to squeak out a win here for the team. But yeah, what a crazy game. What a crazy game. If you have any questions about this game, please let me know in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next video.